So I was walking in the park one day. Actually, I was running in the park, and I had a realization that I had led sort of a blessed life in terms of being able to be in the present moment, and that I might be able to teach something in that regard, and that it was probably the most significant thing or experience of my life. The fact it was the most memorable, the most enjoyable. I won't call it an achievement because I don't think it's something I created. It was something I was experiencing, and I could talk about that more later. But if you're going to teach something, or if you're going to have conversations with others about something, it seems that would be an important criteria to use in determining what those conversations might be about. And so I was running in the park, and I really didn't know what to do. How do I share with people a way of being that's an experiential way of being rather than an analytical way of observing the world? And I didn't know where to start or how to language it, because its experience isn't something I'm akin or used to trying to describe. So it popped into my head. I said, I invite God into the world through me. I will be a conduit for God to come into the world through me. And I had this deep sensation of joy and gratitude that rushed into my body when I said those words. And I was running in a park. I remember being under some trees, and it felt as if I was being appreciated for making that offering, and it fulfilled my senses, and this great sense of joy. And I remember that just being overwhelmed by that feeling of joy and having even a tear or two come to my eye about the potential of that opening. And it's been a couple of years now. It seems like that was in the fall of 2015 maybe, or early 16, when I was running in a park. That happened. And I don't know if this makes a difference, but it coincided with one of my life goals, which was to learn throughout my life, but then to offer what I learned as those skills became, if you will, proven to me, the skills that were most valuable. I had sort of a life goal to be able to share what I had learned. And so it coincided with that, but I didn't have anything to share. The concept of being in the present moment isn't really content rich, so I didn't know how to share that. It's more about a feeling, a way of being in the world that's joyful. But it coincided with other transitional feelings I was having at the time also, about my father having passed away, and realizing I was probably left down to my last 20 years, or 20 or 30 years on the planet, and that it was when you begin to focus on how much time you have left, how do you want to spend it. And so it was all sort of coming together to me as just being providing an avenue for wisdom to come into the world for me. I don't mean God in the traditional sense. I mean it probably in a more universal sense, where probably your definition of God would suit that, not limiting it per se to my God or the right God or whatever. And it's not really something you need to believe in. It's not a particular the experience of God is not the same as learning about the rules of God, for example. And so I think it's more of a broader understanding of my experience of God is sort of an organizing energy of sorts that's positive and loving and not expecting me to be judgmental of others, but not even having that in my domain. Let that be God's work, if it is work at all, or limiting, being for some but not others, whether it's the God they're picking or where they live or any of that, I think is beyond the scope of my understanding of what God is. So I was in this park, running in this park, and I had this joy of offering. I had a thankful message, and since that time, I've been looking at various ways, maybe how to bring that into the world, and I've come to the realization, potentially, that I've made myself what was important in that observation and that joyful minute, rather than holding a doorstop open for God to come into the world. I've been trying to organize that from my own experience of my wins, my personal wins of being in the present moment, and that joy, trying to figure out how to translate that instead of just being an opening for God to figure all that out, or for I think I might call it something else. I'll call it collective consciousness, to figure out how to deliver that into the world and be an opening for that. So today in the park, I looked down on my phone and said, I'll see if there's a record button, and rather than me trying to focus the methodology or the system for delivery, or the subject matter to be discussed, or any of that, just open the door and let the collective consciousness or the light come into me into the world through me. And so that invitation is open, and I'm no longer going to be trying to organize it. I'll just open the door and let it come through. Whatever that source of joy was, come into the world through me if it finds it appropriate. And so today I pushed the record button, and maybe this is what I'll talk about today. I talked about what I'm doing, why I pushed the record button, what the background on it is, and I'll continue to explore whatever comes to mind when I push the record button. Thanks for listening.